Senior Advisor with the Centre for European Policy Analysis. Thank you so much for joining us. We will get more response, won't we, from Western leaders and indeed leaders around the world today, now they've had a chance to absorb what happened over the weekend. How do you think the narrative will develop in the West on this one?
I think everyone is still grappling to find answers to the many questions that remain open on this. What really happened? What did Prigozhin actually think he would do when he got to Moscow? Why did the Russian security services, the successors to the Soviet KGB, fail to spot this? What will happen to Prigozhin now? Where is he? What on earth was President Alexander Lukashenko of Belarus, which is supposedly a Russian puppet state, doing? Apparently playing center stage in the resolution of this. And most of all, how badly weakened is Putin? This is a huge dent in his already tattered reputation for competence and effectiveness. I don't think anyone can say that he really played this well. So what happens to him now?
So President Putin is weakened, right? Because he faced a challenge and he settled it without, and lifted all the, charges that could have been faced for Prigozhin and his fighters as well. So he's weakened, but how does he then deal with that? How does he get that strongman status back?
Well, he can't unsay what he said, and if on 6 hours into this potential coup or uprising or mutiny or whatever you call it, he's denouncing these people as traitors and saying it's an existential threat to the Russian state, and then a few hours later the guy's been pardoned and his supporters are not going to be prosecuted and he's off to make a new life in another country. That shows that when Putin's cornered, he doesn't fight like a rat, which is one of his big things, that he saw a rat in St. Petersburg in the old Soviet days, and it was in a corner when it was really a desperate situation. It just bit and fought and fought its way out, and that's always been his thing. Don't put me in a corner because I'll fight really hard. And this actually shows that he negotiates. And that's not great for that strongman image. So I think what's really going to happen now is all the people around Putin are going to think the boss isn't going to be here forever based on what's just happened. What plans do I make to keep my staff and my power and maybe get some staff and power from other people? So I think one should really see this as an episode in The Sopranos or some other sort of mafia movie, rather than being subject to the sort of normal political analysis that we might usually deploy in this sort of case.
Well, people are saying the beginning of the end for Putin. It's far too early to say that now, isn't it?
No, I don't agree. I actually wrote a piece back in January saying that the Russian civil war has already started. These things have messy starts and messy ends. And I think we are in the final act for Putin now. I mean, it may be days, weeks or months. I don't think it's going to be longer than that. And I'd be very surprised if he runs again and gets another full term as president, because his authority rests on the perception of effectiveness and competence, and that's been really trashed both by the war in Ukraine and all the bad decisions surrounding that, and by his handling of the crisis. So I think this balloon has been punctured, and it's looking increasingly crumpled, and people are going to be making their plans accordingly.
Okay, Edward Lucas, really appreciate your perspective today. Thank you.